All right, good evening. Welcome to the Saline County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting tonight, March 7th, 2022. We'll begin with the agenda items, consent agenda. Do we have any discussion about the agenda for tonight? Any changes or modifications? We have a motion to approve the agenda as written. Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Item B, approval of the minutes for February 7th, 2022. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes. I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as printed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2, election of officers and bylaws review.
Any volunteers for chair?
Okay.
Volunteers to chair the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Any others?
And I think maybe you want to, I think, don't they vote on that?
Yeah, we'll vote
Yeah.
on it.
Okay.
Just make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We have volunteer for chair for this coming year. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Congratulations.
And
Elect a vice chair.
yeah.
Any volunteers for vice chairman? Mr. Flaherty, any other volunteers? All right. All in favor for Mr. Flaherty for vice chair for this year? Say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
And as usual, staff is the secretary.
Yep.
So,
So when do we pass the gavel? Now or the end?
yeah.
Carry on.
One more time. Give me one more time.
I tried.
Finish reading the book.
Hey, at least this isn't controversial.
That's right.
The under the next item is going to be the bylaw review, and what I was going to do with this is just I've kind of selected a few areas as it pertains to like your powers and duties and things like that you would do for your public hearings, and just to kind of go over those. I'm not going to go over all of the bylaws because I think some of it is you already are familiar with. But I just wanted to concentrate on some of the details that you might run into during public hearings. So under the first page, I've got Article 2 under powers and duties. The commission shall prepare plans for Saline County, which are directed towards, the best development of the county, hold public hearings as provided by law, make and recommend policy to the governing body, i.e. the Board of County Commissioners in areas of physical and social development, evaluate and recommends necessary rules and regulations as provided by law, hear and make final judgment on applications for conditional use permits, preliminary plats, and subdivision exceptions, hear and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on applications for zoning amendments, final plats, text amendments, and amendments or addendums to the comprehensive plan. Exercise all powers provided by law. And under Article 3, the only thing I have kind of highlighted there is I wanted to bring out to your attention that at least a majority of the appointed commission members must reside in the unincorporated regions of Saline County. This is under Section 1 composition, and it's the very last sentence on the first page. On in terms of affirmative votes required, since this is a 9-member board, basically it's for votes to approve CUPs, preliminary plats, and subdivision exceptions. It requires, as a 9-member board, you would have 5 as the majority vote, and votes for a recommendation for zoning, final plat, text amendment, or comp plan review would be 5 members as well. And so, and you can see the numbers on, how they, the corresponding number of members, who are absent, and the number that would be required for the majority. If you go to the next page under section 4, that would be page 3. I wanted to bring to your attention section 4, the conflict of interest clause, which is any member of the commission who feels that he or she has a conflict of interest as defined by Kansas statutes on any matter that is on the commission's agenda shall voluntarily vacate his seat and refrain from discussion on voting on said item. Any member may raise the question of conflict of interest or possible conflict of interest with respect to any other member present. The question raised must be decided by majority vote, and the members present excluding the member in question. So I don't know how common this is with you all. Since I've been here, I've not run into a situation where anybody has had to abstain from voting. So but just to kind of like get, kind of make you familiar with, sometimes this does happen, if there's like, let's say, let's say someone has a business that they're wanting to open up, and there's somebody that's, you may know somebody, or you may be benefiting, from someone's business or something like that, that would be coming into the county, then you would, it would be up to you to kind of like decide to, abstain from voting. So just to kind of let you know about that. And the other item on this page is section 7, the ex parte communication. That's a big one as well. It's kind of one of those things that's, because of the sunshine laws, we have to make sure that we're completely transparent. Kansas Supreme Court has ruled that recommendations and decisions made by local governments on private land use matters, rezoning, subdivisions, variances, and appeals are quasi-judicial by their nature. Quasi-judicial proceedings require that recommendations and decisions are arrived at in a fair and equitable manner, that all interested parties, pro, con, and neutral, are given ample opportunity to present their case, and that the record clearly show all evidence that was considered in arriving at said recommendation and decisions. The Saline County Planning and Zoning Commission desires to conduct all procedures fairly, to create a record that includes all of the evidence upon which recommendations and decisions were made, and to prevent the appearance of undue influence on its recommendations and decisions. To this end, commissioners who experience ex parte communication must disclose the details of the communication at the commission meeting after the introduction of the item of which the ex parte communication pertained. I wanted to kind of give you an example that I ran into. It was kind of one of those gray areas, but I had one of my county attorneys look into it. Was you have, like, let's say there's somebody who is like, let's say there's a case coming up and there's a detail, like, let's say a member requests something, a member of the board requests something to be placed in the on the agenda, or as part of that discussion item, or a part of something to discuss about a particular case. And they're asking staff, okay, I can provide, if it's one-on-one, if it's staff and let's say one of you communicating with me and saying, I need a clarification on this item. Is there a way that we can get this, a clarification, or need some information on this ahead of time for the meeting? That's fine. You can let me know and I can provide that as staff. But if it's one of those situations where, like, let's say you communicate to another member and say, okay, I want to see some more information, and then you do this by email. In the email, this is where the mode of communication being email. You email and say, I want to see, this, and it becomes this back and forth discussion that has to be made, brought to light at the meeting when that particular subject is heard. So just kind of like to give you all kind of a heads up on stuff like that, because there's little gray areas in the ex parte communication, and that the sunshine laws, and then this also applies ex parte, being like, let's say the applicant wants to talk to you or something, and discuss something. And I think that I've run into situations in the past where I've had, an applicant wanting to talk to a commissioner, and it's okay to talk to the commissioner. So it's okay if an applicant comes to you and says, I have these concerns. Can you do this? Your response should be, I can't give you an answer at this time, basically. So to make sure that, and that's if you encounter an applicant. But if you want to talk amongst each other, that has to be disclosed, by, if you're talking by email or phone or whatever, if you're just out and about and you've run into each other and the subject comes up of a particular case that's coming up. But that's basically the in a nutshell, kind of what you would do. Is you can feel free if you guys have, and this is what I always tell my planning commissioners, I say, if you need any clarification on any item that's on the agenda, if I don't make something very clear in the staff report or something, feel free to let me know. And I can make that clarification, because there's nothing wrong with that. And I can make that. And if you want to see some additional information or something ahead of the meeting, feel free, to let me know, and I'll provide that for you. Under page 4, I think it's Article 5, the duties of the officers. Under the chairman shall preside at all meetings of the commission and shall be eligible to vote on all matters coming before the commission. The chairman has a right to abstain from voting. However, the chairman must vote in the event of a tie vote or when a motion is one vote short of adoption. The chairman shall appoint all committees and is responsible for conducting all meetings in an orderly manner. The chairman shall sign all resolutions and other approved records, papers, and documents of the commission. Under vice chair, the vice chairman shall perform all the duties and assume all the responsibilities of the chairman in his/her absence. Under secretary, the secretary shall keep accurate records of all proceedings of the commission. The secretary shall be responsible for issuing all necessary correspondence, notices, and agendas. She shall be responsible for compiling reports and keeping attendance records, and the secretary or designated appointee shall also present commission actions and recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. The secretary shall sign and note approval of the minutes of the commission and shall, when required by law, authenticate the signature of the chairman. And the other item on this is staying on page 5. down on section 4 under annual meeting. And that's what we're having this evening. The first regular meeting of the month of March of each year shall be designated as the annual meeting, at which time officers for the coming year shall be elected. In addition, the comprehensive plan will be open to discussion at the annual meeting, which we'll be discussing an item of that this evening too. And the last thing I wanted to kind of cover in the bylaws was section 8 on page 6, procedure governing action taken on applications at the hearing. Agenda items shall be heard in the order they appear on the agenda. The applicant or the applicant's representative must be present in order for any affirmative action to be taken on the application. If the applicant's representative is not present when the item is announced, that item shall be moved to the last item on the agenda. If the applicant or applicant's representative is not present by the time the item is announced for the second time, the application excuse me, shall be tabled for 1 month. 8.3, if the applicant's representative is not present at the second public hearing when the item is announced, the application will be denied, and no application substantially similar to that be considered sooner than 1 year after such denial. If the applicant's representative is present at the second public hearing, that individual will need to present a valid reason why there was no representative for the item at the first public hearing. To kind of stop there for just a second, usually what I would do as secretary, it's always been common for me to, if someone is not able to show up at a meeting, if an applicant is not able to be present, I would usually relay that to you typically. And if that person isn't present, and then at that point, I would, sometimes they will explain to me why they can't make it. And sometimes what I would do is relay that to you as to the reasons sometimes why they are not able to make it. So if there's if you would want me to continue, just, like in the event somebody doesn't show up, they typically tell me why they can't. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just don't show up. But in the event they do call me and let me know, would you want me just to go ahead and just explain why they are not able, as staff, not able to attend, or what was relayed to me? Would that be acceptable?
I think so, because it answers the question here that we've got, clarifies what we're asking.
Mm-hmm. If the planning commission determines that the applicant has shown excusable neglect, the application shall be heard. If the planning commission is unable to find that the applicant has shown excusable neglect, the application shall be denied. Excusable neglect may include a medical emergency or accident or death of an immediate family member. Under 8.4, if the applicant wishes to have an agenda item tabled, then the applicant or applicant's representative will be required to appear at the hearing to ask for the application to be tabled. If the applicant or applicant's representative does not appear at the hearing to ask for the application to be tabled, then the item shall be handled as in paragraph 8.2, which is, table it until the next meeting. And any questions on what I've gone over?
I have a slight concern over one thing.
Okay.
If we go back to section 4 under conflict of interest, and you
Yeah.
look at the first sentence,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of maybe just a housekeeping matter, but rather important one is, it says, Any member of the commission who feels that he or she has a conflict of interest as defined by such and such on any matter that is on the commission's agenda shall voluntarily vacate his seat and refrain from discussion. Can we add or her?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. Anything else? Okay. Want me to go on to item 3?
All right. Item 3 is comprehensive plan goals for chapter 5.
Okay, this is picking back up on the comprehensive plan. This is review policies as outlined in chapter 5 under transportation in the current plan. The following is a review of the 17 transportation policies as currently outlined in chapter 5 of the comprehensive plan. The wording within these policies generally reflects the standards and requirements of the Road and Bridge Department, which are outlined in chapter 11 of the Code of Ordinances of Saline County. These standards are also generally found in the subdivision regulations. The Road and Bridge Department is currently in the process of reviewing chapter 11 standards, and as such, the policies as enforced in both the comprehensive plan and the subdivision regulations may need to be amended to reflect these changes. While this current agenda this evening includes a general review of the current wording of the transportation policies as outlined in the comp plan, a representative from the Road and Bridge Department is scheduled to attend the April 4th hearing for a more detailed discussion on the proposed changes to county road standards, which will be reflected in the planning and zoning documents. There will be no action taken at this hearing this evening, but I've got Justin Mader will be coming by from Road and Bridge and next month to give a more detailed explanation, and I've included the current standards as they are, and I've also got the last page of that would be the minimum design and construction standards that are a comparison between what's currently worded and the proposed. And the reason I did this is this evening, what I've done is I'll go over what we have in our comp plan under transportation. And then when Justin comes next month, what I'll do is he'll give you some input as to those changes and see if there's anything you would want to see changed at that point as well, and direct staff to go ahead and make those changes. Then if you want, I can this evening, feel free to, as I go over these 17 points that are in chapter 5, feel free to add or have staff make I'll make notes of any changes you would want me to make, and then that way next month when Justin is here, I can add to whatever it is that you instruct me this evening. But basically, this is to kind of give you a month to kind of chew on what he's proposing for those, if you will. And I don't anticipate major changes to it in terms of our subdivision regulations, because I think but I said there's a couple of wording changes I think he was telling me about. And like I say, we'll have a more robust discussion next month when he's here, and you can direct me to make any additional changes to tonight's presentation. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me, Tim. Now what we have in front of us right here is what they've proposed.
that's right.
Okay, so obviously, I don't know what's in place right now. So are you kind of going to highlight what's being changed, or is that up to the gentleman from Road and Bridge next time?
It'll probably be up to him, but what I did is I included on the last page. You look at the very last page, you should see something that has it says the topic at the top and then current and then proposed and then effective
sheet.
public. Yeah. And that kind of gives you a breakdown and to kind of let you kind of look at that for a while and get you used to when he comes next month to explain all of that in more detail.
Thank you.
Sure. With that, I will go ahead and look at the transportation policies. Policy T1 is design and construct all proposed roads and streets in or adjacent to new subdivisions unless higher urban standards are deemed appropriate, and also improvements to existing county roads where deemed appropriate. In accordance to Table T2, the policies of this plan and the adopted improvement standards ensure that the right-of-way dedication instruments allow for installation of utilities and drainage facilities as well as other public service needs. Policy 2, T2, maintain road design and construction standards based on map 3 of the rural primary road system map. The map should be updated periodically to reflect Saline County Road and Board of County Commissioners approved changes. Policy T3, maintain a rural road and bridge system that minimizes long-term capital and operational costs while providing safe and convenient access for rural residents, ranchers, farmers, and industry. Policy T4, require new developments in the county to provide for long-term maintenance of internal road, bridge, and drainage systems. These internal systems shall be considered private for maintenance purposes. However, the county shall retain the right to access these road rights of way and also allow the use of these road rights of way to utility providers for the provision of all public services. Policy T5, allow the use of shared driveways, original non-conforming in terms of minimum lot size, or excuse me, lot width. Agricultural lots provided such shared driveways are built and maintained and provide adequate emergency access. There's a few of these that I've run into. I just wanted to kind of stop for a minute and just let you know there's a few of these shared driveway situations that I've run into, and there hasn't been a major issue with them, but it's just, it is common. I wanted to let you know that there are a few of those out there. But under item T6, prohibit subdivisions that eliminate or inhibit the development of or access to adjacent parcels. If access to adjacent property is provided via a private road, allow for pro rata cost recovery for road construction and maintenance from subsequent users. Item T7, ensure that safe and adequate roadways are provided concurrently with new development. Item T8, require dedication of rights of way and other access easements necessary for needed transportation facilities as identified in the rural primary road system map that we have. Item T9, prohibit rezoning and subdivision on earth roads. That's become kind of an issue as of, I think we had a couple of permits where there was a question about the being put on dirt roads. And so that's item T10, discourage construction of single family homes on earth roads unless the road is upgraded or vacated and converted to a private road per county policy. Encourage transfer of development rights from parcels along earth roads to other properties along paved roads. Item T11, the cul-de-sac streets and roads should be no more than 600 feet in length. Secondary access should be provided for any development with streets, roads exceeding this length. Item 12, require all developers, including individuals building new single-family homes, to provide all required on-site roads and contribute their pro rata share of funding for off-site roadways that serve the proposed development. Funding, in quotes, shall include dedication of required right-of-way for the county roads at no cost to the county, and participation in the cost of upgrading the county road surfacing in proportion to the increase in traffic and proposed development. Will ultimately, the proposed development will ultimately generate. The county will hold these funds until such time that it deems appropriate to improve the county roads. When the county proceeds with the improvements to the county road, it will assess the subsequent developers, including individuals building new single-family homes, their proportionate share of the costs of the upgrades based on the proportion of the traffic increase generated by the development. If the developer wishes to make approved improvements to the county road prior to the county being ready to take on those improvements, the developer should be allowed to recover improvement costs for facilities that serve subsequent developments. Item 13, upgrade the surface of all rural primary roads shown on map 3, which are currently either gravel or earth, to prime and double seal, hot mix asphalt or concrete within 10 years. Road upgrades will be prioritized primarily based on traffic volumes and correlations between maintainability and soil characteristics. However, other factors will be taken into consideration, including voluntary dedication of rights of way by adjacent landowners and voluntary participation in the costs of upgrading that road surface by interested parties. Item 14, maintain short-term, 5 years, and long-range 10 years capital improvement programs for the improvement of roads and bridges based on existing and projected demands, road surface conditions, traffic safety, fiscal impact, and other relevant factors. Note improvements to several of the rural primary roads were also identified as priority transportation projects in joint resolution endorsing transportation improvements for the city of Salina and Saline County concerning the enactment by the Kansas legislature of a new statewide comprehensive transportation program. City of Salina Resolution 86546. And the Saline County Resolution 08-1984 in Appendix C of the plan. Therefore, state funding for upgrading at least some of those roads is anticipated to be made available if the Kansas legislature passes new comprehensive transportation program. These are those are little details I'm probably going to have, Justin's going to have to answer for you on a lot of this. It's just, we want to make sure that everything that he's saying that he's putting in any changes he makes basically are reflected in our subdivision regulations and our standards as well. Item 15 is when evaluating requests to vacate public right-of-way, consider the following factors. Is the roadway indicated on the adopted rural primary road system map? If the road is classified as anything other than a local road, it should not be vacated. If the road is classified as a local road, it should only be considered for vacation if it meets all the following criteria. Could the right of way be in an existing community be needed for any future public purpose? The county should require applicants for vacations in communities to provide evidence that the right of way will not be needed for any mode of circulation, emergency access, access to serve future subdivisions within the community, or public utilities. Is the roadway needed for access to multiple parcels? Even if under common ownership, the right of way should not be abandoned if it is the sole access to multiple properties that may be conveyed to separate owners unless adequate provision is made for the access to uses that may be allowed on each parcel. Is the roadway currently being used? If the roadway is improved and carrying traffic, the county should consider retaining the right of way. Are there sufficient alternative roadways? Do not vacate the right of way unless the public roadways located within a reasonable distance of the right of way to be abandoned can be provided a safe and convenient alternative route. Item 16, consider local user fees for heavy vehicles to recoup the cost of their impacts on the county's roads. Item 17, on a case-by-case basis, consider lowering the maximum speed limit on earth and gravel roads to no more than 45 miles per hour. And so, as I said, I've got the current minimum design standards for you guys to look at, and on the last page is going to give you the comparison of how it's worded now and the changes that Justin is proposing. With that, do you have any additional questions for me?
Mr. Chairman, I got one comment. Being an agricultural community, I think P16 better be thrown out of there pretty darn quick.
There's a lot of,
It'll be impossible to enforce.
yeah,
It's impossible to be fair.
Mhm.
When a tractor or combine weighs more than the truck going down the road, who gets to pay it? Who gets to pay it?
Yeah.
Throw it out.
Mhm.
Throw it out. We've had that come up once before in discussion.
Okay.
Talked about doing a fee on a road, and
Mhm.
there's no way it could be fair. Just my comment.
Okay.
What's that?
Did vote it down.
Yeah, we threw it out before it ever came in.
Well, I'd say number 17.
Yeah, I've never seen Plain do that. 45?
Well, if I win 16, I'll give on 7.
on policy 10, where it
Mhm.
talks about transfer development rights.
Yeah.
Isn't the only way we can do that if it's floodplain?
Right now, it's currently enforced as if there's and the way that I would interpret this is if it's a earth road that has like a floodplain on it. Yeah.
It'd have to be floodplain.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to clarify that or just
Okay.
leave that out, or I don't know.
And that's what, and we can probably, yeah, because that's kind of confusing there. But I've never run into that where, I've had to do that. I've just always done it with if it's in a floodplain, you can
Floodplain.
transfer. But
Well, we have had this in the past, though.
yeah,
I
with
mean,
with an earth road.
yeah, my neighbor put a house on an earth road and the county made him upgrade it to
Oh.
county standards.
Okay.
So it was an upgrade.
Okay. But
And that was not in a floodplain, by the way.
it wasn't in the floodplain?
No, that was upland. So it does happen.
No, it had, okay. When was that?
25 years ago?
Oh, 25.
I haven't been on the board since.
Okay.
Any other discussion or questions from the board? Or things we want to make sure we consider for next week or next month? Next week. Give it a month. Any other questions of staff? All right.
Okay.
Anything else you have for us today, staff?
Commissioner Fennel submitted I think you all have a copy of this is the lot split questions. And staff did look into any kind of where there was an amendment that was made. There actually was an amendment that was made back in 2006. And what we can do is in the future, at an upcoming hearing, if you want to, or is I would have to publish, any kind of text amendment. If you feel like this is something that, you would want to have a broader discussion on, and make any amendments to it.
No, if it was done in 2006, it was after I was aware of it.
Okay.
So that's the only thing I was wanting to know is the history behind
Yeah.
why it was added. For those of you who haven't looked at it, when you look at that, just the addition of a +1
Mhm.
totally disregards everything else that's in that section. I don't agree with putting +1 in there and
Yeah,
having
I
it
know.
totally disagree with the other two sections, but it's up to the board to decide.
Okay.
It was an original tract, 160 acres.
Mhm.
You got two, but if you had 161 acres and had a large quarter, you got the third.
I think that's how
That's-
they. I
that
think
was
that's
the
how
+1.
That's
That's
how
not what's clarified.
But that's, I thought was kind of the rule was that was the +1 if you had a large quarter.
And how many large quarters do we have in this county? We have more short quarters than we have large
Right.
quarters.
So a 150 acre quarter still got the two.
Right.
Mhm.
And an 80 acre got one.
Mhm.
And did we approve then if you had a large 80, did you get the 1 + 1?
It's my understanding, the way that I interpret it is that if there is an existing homestead, an existing house that's on that 160 acres, you could split or whatever it is. Yeah. You can split the house off. That's the +1.
No,
No,
no.
that's not the
Not
way
at
we
all.
originally,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
not to disagree with you, but no, we don't.
So my interpretation is wrong, but I said it's following what you were wanting, but it's just my interpretation is wrong.
Because it's based on 1976,
76. Yeah.
78,
76.
whatever we had on the book.
So if you had a
78.
quarter with one house, you had two building rights. That was it.
That's right. And if
If
you
you wanted to
wanted
petition
to
off
put
your
another
house,
one on there, you
You had
could-
one left.
You
That's
just had
right.
one left. Yeah.
Right. So you're trying to give them two plus
Plus
one with
one
a house.
with the house. Yeah.
And I don't think that's the way it was.
It was originally, yeah.
No.
it wasn't- okay.
but
The
that's the
plus
reason
one was
why
for the large quarter.
I brought it to Tim's attention because that +1 is not explained the way you explained it.
No, it's not the way I
And
would.
you can see, obviously, Tim was looking at it with a different perspective.
Some of us haven't had a chance to look this over and know exactly what we're talking about.
And that's the reason why I wanted to bring.
I
it up.
appreciate you doing
Yeah,
that, but I just wish we could take a look at it before we have.
We're not making any decisions tonight.
Right.
We're just discussing.
But it's what I would, and if you all, like I say, when we update the zoning regs, after we get done with the comp plan, this is something we can, if you want to address this when we get to that section, I said, we can definitely.
I know I definitely will,
Okay.
because I'm like Dwayne, we need to make sure this is clarified so that
Sure.
somebody
Because
like,
we've run into that, the 162 acres got the third.
And it would clarify it for staff too,
right,
because, that's, the +1 did kind of like throw me off. Why, and that's the only thing I could think of is that, okay, it has to do with an existing home. Maybe. But I just,
I don't think that was the way originally. We've never enforced it like that.
yeah.
We might have been wrong.
No, we
I heard
were,
that. No.
we were not
We
wrong.
were not-
Well, can we
But
make
the
it-
interpretation has been muddied thanks to whoever that amendment in 06.
Yeah. Good
Well, can
point,
we just
Paul.
make sure that we have this on the list? So when we come back to review the zoning
You betcha.
regs, we can.
So
not
That was
use
the
it.
only, that was the only intent. So.
Anything else from the commission tonight from staff?
that's it.
All right.
Good job, Ken, for the time you served.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Yes.
No. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.